What's up everybody, my name's Garmin, and in this episode of the Storycraft Society, we're going to see how to bring the Durgtik's Do's adventure into your story. Welcome back to the channel. If you've been crafting with us for the last couple of weeks, you'll know that we finally finished our awesome Goblin Arrows Ambush set. If you haven't been crafting with us and you'd like to, all those videos are linked in the description below. But today we're going to be talking about an adventure that I wrote because I really wanted to show off the versatility of these pieces to use them in a way that's different than the Goblin Arrows Ambush. So let me show you how. Alright, so this adventure takes place in a stretch of woodlands. It can be in any setting, but for my setting, it's happening right in between the towns of Hopskitter and Woodguard. So a little bit of history on our big bad evil guy for this particular adventure, Durgtik the Bugbear. So he spent most of his life as a bandit. Killing, looting, that sort of thing is all his favorite pastime. More recently though, and this is the important part, he started dreaming of a smoky voice. And this smoky voice has been calling out from the darkness of his dreams, offering him his greatest wishes. Anything that he can think of, this voice is offering him. So Durgtik, who is not a particularly smart bugbear, has entered into an agreement with something that he has no idea what it is, and he doesn't even really understand the terms of this agreement. But over time, coming into spring, he has gathered up this crew of goblin bandits, and he and his goblin bandits have been terrorizing the trade road, just up and down pillaging. Well, one night in early spring, the voice tells him that he needs to find this sinkhole in the woods. And the sinkhole happens to be at the top of a hill. Obviously, our Goblin Arrows Ambush set is going to come in handy here. But what he is promised is a great fortress if he lowers a human child into the pit at midnight. Off Durgtik goes, and he is going to do his best to find a child to drop into this pit. Durgtik finally tracks down his caravan. He and his goblins all surround the caravan. Durgtik walks out into the middle of the road, using his size and his general aura, kind of scares all of the really capable caravaneers to come to the front of the caravan, which is the perfect opportunity for his goblin bandits to strike, and they run into the back of the caravan, snatch up the Huntmaster's son. As soon as they grab him, with no bloodshed, because everyone is just shocked that this comes out of nowhere, they shoot off into the woods. This is where the start of our adventure happens, where our player characters are going to intersect with the grieving caravan. So part one of the adventure, which is Caravan in Distress, will have the PCs encountering the caravan along the trade road. The caravan is grieving because Jacob Dillifo, the son of the Huntmaster, has recently been kidnapped by a colossal bugbear and his goblin cronies. Taylor Hunbrun, as well as Marcus Shieldman, the caravan leader and caravan blacksmith respectively, are going to come talk to the players and offer them 50 gold pieces as a reward for the return of the boy as long as he comes back safely. The PCs will have an opportunity to question the boy's parents, Tadra, the Huntmaster, and her husband Darren, but also they will have an opportunity to kind of ask around the various people of the caravan. Now, there's a trick to that because the caravan is mostly the elderly and the very young, and they're all just in shock because this is probably the craziest thing that's ever happened to them, or at least happened to them in a long time. So the information that the players will get from the caravan versus what they'll get from the caravan leaders is going to be very different. The player's going to have to figure that out. But eventually, at the end of this part of the adventure, the leaders of the caravan will show the players the path that the goblins took when they ran off into the woods carrying the boy off. So part two of the adventure is through the woods. Now the players can follow the goblin trail for a short time without needing to make any kind of check to do so. In fact, the goblins were so worried about getting away quickly that you can just clear as day see as they push through brush and bushes and that sort of thing until they get to a creek. Now, when the goblins get to this creek, the players have an opportunity to notice a set of large goblinoid footprints. Yes, this happens to be Durgtik the Bugbear, who finally joined back up with his goblin cronies. And then he orders them to start marching down the creek to try to conceal their footprints a little bit. Unfortunately for Durgtik, the goblins are far too unorganized and unfocused to walk in a single file line. So as long as the players succeed on a relatively low survival check, they'll notice that the goblins were like pushing each other and stuff all the way up onto the banks of the creek, making it very easy for anyone who wanted to follow them to do so. After a little while, the goblin and bugbear crew started to make their way off into the woods again, now not following the creek. And as they do so, the players now are going to need to start making survival checks to see if they can track the footprints of this crew. So, included in the adventure is a little kind of role-playing side note that if the players roll a natural 1 on any of their survival checks, they're going to run into the goblin Jumbles and his pet giant centipede Wriggles. Now, I'm not going to spoil the fun of you getting to read through that adventure, but the one thing that I will say as a DM's note is that if you read the adventure and you really like the interaction with Jumbles and Wriggles, feel free to make it that your players don't have to roll a natural 1 in order to incorporate that kind of fun, funny role-playing encounter. Maybe they encounter Jumbles and Wriggles no matter what, but either way, feel free that if you like that enough, you don't have to stick to it being just a natural 1 that causes the PCs to meet these two kind of funny and humorous non-player characters. So eventually, either by successfully tracking all of the goblins or by talking to Jumbles and Wriggles, the players will eventually reach a clearing, and in that clearing will be the hill where Durgtik and his minions are all waiting till midnight to drop the boy into the hole. And that's where we're going to pick up in part 3. Alright, so no matter how long it's taken your players to get from the caravan to the hill, they should arrive right around 11 p.m. so that it's not like there's any immediate time restriction for Durgtik to drop the boy into the hole, but also it's definitely getting close enough that if the players take too much time, it could eventually get to the point that Durgtik is ready to drop the boy down. So, Durgtik has set up a bunch of defenses to the best of his ability with his little goblin crew to hold off anyone who came to chase him. He's been a bandit for long enough, it's likely that he'll be pursued if people from the caravan have the resources to do so. So here are the things that Durgtik has done to make sure that if he does get followed and pursued, that he can have some kind of a stand to make. So the first thing is, Durgtik and his cronies drag logs and brush from the nearby woodlands up on top of the hill to make kind of a semi-makeshift fortification. If nothing else, it'll give them a little bit of cover if arrows or spells come flying in. The next thing is Durgtik has definitely done a diligent job of tying up Jacob. He's bound his wrists and ankles, as well as he's attached a chain to those binds to his own belt, making sure that Jacob is not going to go anywhere before midnight hits. The next thing is he has ordered a bunch of his goblin cronies to be kind of scouts and sentries. He sends 2 scouts to make a big path around the base of the hill, keeping an eye out for any pesky adventurers, but also he set up a sentry up on top of one of the highest rocks up on the hill there. Now, when they got here, the goblins all were able to capture a turkey, so they are all very full from a nice turkey dinner, and the sentry that is up on top of the rock keeps falling asleep. So one little kind of funny cinematic that I did add into this little stage of the adventure is that when the players make their first perception check to kind of look and see what's going on around the hill, you should have Durgtik make his way over and slap that goblin awake as he was kind of nodding off. And then that goblin will stay awake for the next 1d12 minutes. Really looking around and trying to see what's going on. But if the players wait, whatever that length of time may be, then the goblin, of course, starts to nod off, giving the players a much easier chance of sneaking up on top of the hill. Eventually your players are going to mess up and Durgtik is going to get alerted. Once that happens, there is no mincing words, there is no talking. Durgtik believes the smoky voice in his head intrinsically. It's initiative. So when I designed this particular combat, my goal was to have it be as cinematic as possible. So the first thing that happens at the top of the initiative order is Durgtik bellows out to stop these adventurers at all costs. The next thing that happens is whenever Durgtik's turn is, he will refuse to leave his position on top of the hill. He wants to stay right next to Jacob because that's his goal. But he is going to grab his Morning Star and go for a player if there is one close enough. If there's not a player close enough, he'll pull out his longbow and knock an arrow. This is where it gets fun. When he goes to make that attack, before he can, smoke, dark smoke starts to billow out of his nose and mouth, out of his ears, out of his eyes, and he grabs his head and starts to wince in pain. In almost a mechanical fashion, his arm is going to snap up, smoke is going to come out of his hand, blasting towards the nearest PC. This is not supposed to hit. It's not even a real attack. There's no stats for it or anything in the adventure. It is supposed to land at the feet of one of the players and leave this big, nasty, smoking hole in the ground. Don't tell your players that, however. The goal is just to put the fear into your players that something bigger is at play here than just a bugbear who's kidnapping children. As that happens, definitely play up the fact that all the goblins around Durgtik are shocked because they've never seen him do something like this before. And through even the other players' turns, the smoke and stuff is all pouring out of his face. He's grabbing his head, and he is definitely uncomfortable in this situation. The goblins will spend their turn in combat trying to stop the players as best they can. As long as Durgtik is around, the goblins will attack, and then the players can take their turns, but eventually it'll get back to Durgtik's turn. And another cool cinematic is going to happen. On his second turn in combat, he writhes in pain again, more smoke, it's intensifying, then he is just going to run over and grab the boy and then dive into the hole. He's going to provoke the opportunity attacks. He is going to put his own life at risk. Yes, it may be early, it might not be midnight yet, but he's not willing to risk the boy not going into the hole at all. If that happens, that'll be the end of his turn and he's removed from combat. If for some reason your players have just had, the perfect storm and somehow they've reduced Durgtik to 0 hit points, instead, the smoke starts to billow out from all around him and it will lift his body up. A trail will start to follow behind him as he floats down into the hole, but the trail will wrap itself around the boy, dragging him down into the hole as well. Now when it gets to the goblins' turn, they are terrified. They're seeing something crazy happen with their leader. They're seeing basically this whole situation devolve quickly. And so now at the start of each goblin's turn, they need to make a Constitution saving throw to stay in the fight. If they, for whatever reason, fail this saving throw, they're running. They are saving their hide. They are, living to bandit another day. But that will eventually either leave all the goblins dead, fled from the field, and that will end this adventure. So if you enjoyed this adventure summary and you think that it's something that you'd like to run or just read, you can check it out on DriveThruRPG. I will put a link in the doobly-doo.
Matt Koval.
I have it set up as pay what you want, so if you're willing to throw a few dollars at the channel, I would really appreciate that. As always, please consider subscribing if you enjoy this content. Leave a like and a comment down below. Turn the notification bell on if you want to know when our videos go live every Thursday. But other than that, Cragmaw Hideout starts next week. So until then, I'll be seeing you.